if they feel that they can't fund it on their own, don't go to government. You go to your neighbors in the oil patch, because they're needing social license as much as you are. And create a partnership and start the first hub.
Well, Dick, I suspect that David Chalik heard that message, and I suspect it could possibly be a topic on the next board meeting agenda. So I'll take it that part on that part. Let's take the question, Allan, and pull it together. How can two industries, one of agriculture and one of oil and gas in this province, where the two big industries, how can we better start working together in your mind?
Well, this would be a good way, as the gentleman suggests, because if Alma were to initiate it and then get your universities involved, your farmers, your ranchers involved, all you need is some land base and the organization, and then some way of being self-sustained. What we're doing is kickstarting some of them in poor countries, but literally expecting them to be self-sustaining and just get it started. But the essence of it is a place where you can manage holistically, integrating crops and livestock and everything, but a place where you can be training Canadians by the hundreds. So they're taking that knowledge back into their companies, their whatever.
Well, I've learned one thing. I did listen to you. Don't start with educators to bring it together. You should start with illiterate people such as myself to maybe help make that happen. That'd be the way to get going.
Yeah, entrepreneurial people.
Thank you for your presentation. Seems to me you speak to us really about competence with regard in how we respond to a complex world, complex situation. Can you speak to us a little bit about, like, almost challenge us, I think, with regard to how we measure competence in terms of responding to complexity in any set of things, any projects. And I appreciate that perspective. But can you speak to us a little bit about that? Because you're really challenging us systemically about how we measure competence. Really.
How do we measure competence, and how do we make complex issues simple? Is that your... Okay.
Yeah. You know, people have often asked me, what scale can you manage holistically, etc. And I've said it's got nothing to do with scale. I manage my own life that way and have done for years. I still have land in Zimbabwe, and thousands of ranches have gone. Why do I still have land? Because I made the decision holistically. I've got 150,000 people looking after it. Okay, because I gave it away. And now I can live simply like I want to amongst the wildlife, and I live in mud huts with a thatch roof and walk around barefoot. That's where I'm happy. I've put on socks for you guys. Okay, so you can do that. And so I gave somebody, I was talking to some Burundians the other day, and I thought I'll just start very simply with them. And I gave them an example of an African woman who came and stayed with Jody, my wife and I, and she had a son. She's a single mother, and she stayed with us for about 6 months training to go back to Africa and work there. And she said, can I do this in my own life? And I said, yes, you can. I'll help you define the context for your life, your whole, you, your son, etc., which we did with her. And a week or two later, she came to me very excited. She said, oh my goodness, this works. And I said, what happened? She said, Matthew and I went shopping to the mall. We got a shopping cart, filled it with all our things. I got to the checkout counter, and I suddenly thought of my context. And she said, nearly everything in the thing was there because I needed it or desired it. And she said, when I thought of the context of my life and the future of my son and everything, she said, we turned around and went and put 3/4 of it back on the shelf. She said, my God, this works.
Context, Dan.
A terrific presentation, provocative, lots of questions. So what I'd like to ask is, in the network of hubs, which one or ones have been most successful in affecting the kind of change that you are talking about so persuasively today, and why?
Okay, so the question was, which hubs in the context of the world that you're doing, which ones are the most successful and why?
I would say the most successful, the 12 hub leaders came to Boulder a short while ago, and they were telling amazing stories of the successes in their communities, etc. And I think the best I heard of were from 2 hubs in Mexico. They've already got 2 hubs going, and they were just amazing successes that they were talking of.
And why?
Those are the best. The determination in the one case of a matriarch. She's a woman in her...
Leadership.
Yeah, 65, and she obviously is just an incredible leader. And she has molded it all and done it, and now they've connected with us. And she had people crying when she talked of it. And the other came from a young Mexican rancher who trained with me many years ago and just became very determined to work with all his workers, then the community, and he, again, just been a powerful leader. It's happening with his leadership.
Happens when it's leadership, yes.
I wanted to ask, do you see a potential catch-22 developing in the loss of culture and context? So in that ban, 95%, there would have been traditional pastoralists in a huge area of that. In our modern context, potentially, those pastoralists don't exist in the same way that they have in the past. They've potentially lost that cultural connect to that pastoralist lifestyle. For example, here you have a lot of people that work with livestock that are new to it and don't understand or aren't building on a history of working with livestock. Do you see the catch-22 in that we're exporting that knowledge to that part of the world and trying to recreate something that has maybe not been lost, but we're recreating something that is better suited in a different area?
So did we, I think the question is did we lose, have we lost some of the old pastoralists, I think that's a word it is, and are we needing to propagate them in other parts of the world?
We haven't lost them completely. We're losing them rapidly there. And actually the worst case I've seen is Israel. A while back I was in the Negev, and again, it's nothing to do with people not being brilliant. They have more Nobel laureates than any nation. But what I found there was that in the desert in the Negev, they're spending 10,000 euros per hectare to harvest water and plant trees that have no hope of stopping desertification or doing anything except grow a few trees. And they are removing the Bedouins' livestock, the sheep mostly, and settling them in towns that they're constructing. And they're paying the men an allowance dependent on how many children they've got. So the Bedouins are being destroyed. Their ancient, proud pastoral culture, that's pastoral genocide. In the town, I had dinner with the mayor of one of the Bedouin towns, and he asked me what the average age of his citizens was, and I said, I don't know, you'll have to tell me, 12 years old. So there's a policy not achieving its objective, dealing with symptoms, leading to unintended consequences. That can only mean war. And that's the worst. So those pastoralists are there. If we can move quickly enough with changing public opinion, get policies changed, the people are there.
We're going to have 2 more questions. One. Okay. Did you hear that, Allan?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no, very aware of what you're saying. What we're doing there in that partnership with the Capital Institute is we're saying, let's go in, these ranches are failing, they're getting more and more floods, droughts, all the usual problems. Little town communities are failing. Let's go in and buy ranches in those areas, start putting young people back on them, training on them, giving a good return to the investor, and then after a 10-year period, and that we haven't worked out yet, how do we sell these ranches back to someone or move on and have settled young people back on the land? So that's part of the thinking there. But the initial thing was just to get working with people who are in that New York, Wall Street environment, who are trying to think differently.
Okay?
My question is on education of youth. Worked in this industry quite a few years, and there's that percentage of people that get it and don't get it. Like, on the biodiversity, on how the ecosystems function. And I'm just wondering if you've had some experience. The other thing I've observed is that the youth of some of the people that get it, it's really remarkable at a very young age how they can observe things and kind of put these things into practice. And often we're faced at reprogramming people. Should we not start with very young people in explaining them some of these principles that, in your slides and stuff, the very young people? And have you had any experience on successful models for that?
I believe what you're saying is absolutely right. It's very hard for us to learn as adults, to relearn something. So what we've got to do is to get into youth. Now, to get change in a big country is very, very difficult. It's like trying to turn a big ocean liner with a paddle in your hand. And if we get a breakthrough, I think it's going to be in a small country in trouble. So I'm concentrating a lot on my own country for this reason. Now, already we have got Cabinet to agree, and they have formed a permanent committee of all government agencies to work with us to spread holistic management over the country entirely. Now, I'm not holding my breath because we hardly have a government, but after elections, we'll also be launching that. We already have, the government and ourselves have formed a scientific liaison committee, bringing the universities, etc., together with us in Southern Africa, and that's beginning to function. Now, that group has